Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. And up here in Montana, we have had some huge thunderstorms up near Whitefish, Kalispell, Canadian border. Had some huge ones coming down from Alberta and some huge ones coming from Idaho. So everyone's been staying indoors, and we've had a lot of lightning. Hopefully no forest fires. So this is a missing persons segment, and I want to give you some reference before I get started. If you've watched Missing 411, the UFO Connection, big segment in there about water, and I drew some comparisons to UFOs and water. And a better explanation is that what better place for UFOs to hide than in water? And we've had many sightings of them over water. David Fravor, pilot for the U.S. Navy, head of the Nimitz fighter crew, the Hornets, chased a UFO that was hovering above water. And then, hey, Huck, what are you doing? Shh. Huck's laying here. Hey. Oh, no. I don't know what she's all upset about. Hey, do you want to go outside? Come on. Hold on a sec. Huck, the executive producer, you want to go outside? Come on. Oh, there she goes. Okay. She heard mommy outside the door, and that's what that was about. So there's been many sightings in Florida above water just off the coast. There's been sightings in Indian Lakes, New York, above lakes of UFOs. Hey, you came back. Hey, come here. Come on. You come back and talk to the crowd? Is that what this is? Well, you want to talk to him? I'll let you see him. Yeah. There's our executive producer, Hawk. Hey. He's a good girl. He's a good girl. Shake. Hey. Oh, that's a good girl. Yeah, that's a good. Am I doing a good job? Am I? You're the executive producer. You can tell me. Do I need to improve in something? Go ahead and tell me. Okay, if you shake my hand, it means I'm doing a good job and I'll stay on another week. Oh, thank you. I still have a job for another week. Thank you, sweetie. You're a good girl. Okay. Well, that's Huck's presentation for today. Okay. Back to the grind. So, UFOs in water. Fresh water, salt water, it doesn't matter. They've been seen over all kinds of water, dirty water. And off the coast of California, there's a very deep trench off Long Beach. There have been a ton of UFOs sighted over the last 25 years in that area. And there's been some rumors that there's actually a UFO base in that trench. So, the start of this. UFOs don't have to be in areas where there's lots of population. They could be in very, very remote areas as well. And I usually am very, very cautious about talking about disappearances related to boats on the water. And the reason is that a lot of things can happen on the ocean. Big wind, big wave, etc. The disappearance I'm going to talk to you about today is highly unusual. And it's not only unusual because of the disappearance itself, but the associated factors in the areas over the years that have happened to boats. Here we go. David Crowhurst, 36 years old, went missing July 6th, 1969, 700 miles west of the Azore Islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, David was a former councilman in Bridgewater, UK, and he was a small business owner, very successful. He was married, and he had 4 children between the ages of 6 and 11. Now, the London Sunday Times sponsored a round-the-world race for boats. The prize was $12,000, and David was entering a 3-hulled yacht called the Tynemouth Electron. Strange name. T-E-I-G-N, Mouth Electron. It was a 41-foot yacht. The yacht had gone through extensive certification and review by many captains that have raced around the world, and it was certified to be reliable and an ocean-going yacht. Well, David heard about this race, and he thought, I could win this. And he entered, and he was one of the last people to leave the UK. And he left Tynemouth, UK, on October 31st, 1968. He disappeared July 6th, 1969. Now, when David left, he was thought to be a very reputable, honest person, businessman, and former elected official from the UK. Well, there was a series of small things that happened to the yacht. Things broke. He needed to have screws. He didn't have screws. Other things broke, and he didn't have replacement parts, and he didn't really plan his trip well to ensure that he would have everything he needed to continue racing. So he left Tynemouth, the UK, right here. And he sailed down around the southern tip of Africa. He was going to sail around and come back around this way. He didn't think he was doing too well, and he didn't think he was racing fast enough. Well, on March 6th, 69, about 5 months into the race, he stopped in Rio Salado, Argentina. And he had a small hole in the boat that he needed to fix. And he stayed for 2 days, got some supplies, got him fixed. Time went on. He made a series of false representations about where he was in the world. It turned out other people saw him and knew he had been lying. And the question was he trying to cheat? There was no quick way around the world in a yacht. So nobody quite understood what he was doing. But it was confirmed that he was lying about his positions at various times. Well, in late June of 69, race organizers notified him that a competitor, the only other competitor still in the race, his boat sank 1,200 miles from the UK in May. They notified him in June. In June, he was in the Atlantic Ocean in a shipping channel, and he was told by the race sponsors that you won the race. You're the last person racing. You've made it the furthest. You've got it. He was ecstatic. Well, on June 24th, he made his last logbook entry And he was writing in a journal about his trip. June 29th, he made his last radio transmission. And then in the journal, there were some odd entries that some people thought he was mentally compromised or that he was desperate, even though he knew he was winning. Well, a person in the shipping channel saw this boat, his boat, moving at 2 knots. They pulled up alongside and they blasted the horn twice. There was no response. They blasted it 3 more times, a foghorn. No response. Well, it was the British ship, the Picardy, and it was a Royal Mail ship. And they had 3 sailors aboard. In the words of the captain of the ship, the Tynemouth Electron looked like it hadn't been lived in several days. Well, the ship took the yacht and lifted it onto their vessel. And they took it to Florida, which was their destination, and they left the ship there. At that time, the U.S. Coast Guard was notified that Crowhurst was missing, but he was listed as a winner of the race. And the family was given the winner's money. The U.S. Coast Guard sent several ships and they dispatched several planes into the area. And they searched for 5 days. The peculiar thing about it was that the life raft was in the appropriate position. All of the life rings were still intact. There was no adverse weather in the area for the previous 2 weeks. And David Crowhurst was an unusual guy. He brought a camera with him, and he chronicled his trip on film. And many people who viewed the film afterwards says he was almost a pro at doing film. It was very well done. Showed the weather conditions sometimes. He talked into the camera, explained how he was doing. And he talked about the his transcending of life on the ocean. And when he wasn't filming, he was writing a 25,000 word manifesto about life. Now they took that film and they made it into a documentary. And it was supposedly watched by many news channels in the UK. I couldn't find anywhere in the US that it was still available. And I couldn't find the name either. I'm going to guess it was something about David Crowhurst and the Tynemouth Electron. I'm guessing you might find it under that. But they also said that many of his writings were of a man that was mentally challenged by the race. Some people thought he committed suicide. And many others thought that he was somehow cheating the race and was alive somewhere else. This went on for months. It got so bad that his sponsor for the race and their representatives signed an affidavit swearing that they never knew anything about the disappearance. They hadn't talked to David since he disappeared. They've had no communication with him. There was no rumors that they knew about that he was going to take his life or he was going to jump out of the race. It was a bizarre twist that nobody understood. There was also conflicting information from several sources. If he was wearing his safety harness on the boat. So when you sail in the ocean and you're the only one on the boat, you wear a safety harness, so if rough waves or something happens, you can't disengage yourself from the boat and it sail away and you're dead in the ocean. You're on a lifeline to the boat. Several conflicting notes about that. And then all of the articles in the paper made a very interesting statement. All of them. And I'll tell you what it is. So David departed here from the UK, went around the Cape, came back around, and was sailing east, back towards the UK, 700 miles from the Azore Island, in a major shipping channel, almost dead center in the Atlantic Ocean. This is David. Here's what the articles all ended with. The ship, the Mary Celeste, was found in the Atlantic in 1872. And it was traveling from New York to Genoa, had a crew of 12. It had a table set for dinner with no adverse weather conditions for the previous 2 weeks. When another ship came up alongside, blasted their information signal and boarded and found every one of the 12 members gone. The commonalities. Both boats were in very close proximity to each other when the crews disappeared. When they got on the Mary Celeste, they said everything was set for dinner, like people were ready to eat. But nothing was moved, nothing was broken. There was no adverse weather, just like with David Crowhurst. But that isn't it. Hold your taters. Lloyd's of London is one of the primary insurers of all ships, boats, and yachts that cross the oceans. It's kind of like one of their niches, Lloyd's of London Insurance. Well, on July 6, 1969 was the approximate date that everyone believed David probably disappeared. Last radio transmission was June 29th. Last logbook entry was June 24th. So somewhere between the 29th and the 6th of July, he disappeared. Unknown exactly when. But also on July 6, 1969, a sailor named Peter Wallen. He was a Swede who was sailing in a 20-foot fiberglass boat around the world. He was in also the same exact area as David Crowhurst. When a Swedish ship called the Golar, G-O-L-A-R Frost, pulled up alongside and came across Wallen's boat, didn't see anybody. They boarded. Wallen was not there. Nothing was disturbed. His last logbook entry, July 2nd. That is odd. But then Lloyd's of London came out in the newspaper and said that this boat was found in the same area as Crowhurst. It's pretty weird. Also in the same area as the Mary Celeste. But that wasn't it. July 8th, 1969. The British tanker Helisoma, Helisoma, found a 36-foot boat overturned in the same Atlantic shipping channel and in the same area as David. The boat was overturned in the water. They couldn't get it upright. They reported it to Lloyd's of London. They didn't know who it belonged to. June 30th, a British ship called the Maplebane found a 60-foot vessel upturned It had a white hull, nobody in the area, no damage seen in the area, no EPIRB, nothing. Son of a gun. That's 4 ships in a span of 14 days in the same area as David's. What are those chances? Well, those chances are phenomenally small. Now, the Atlantic has been known to have some horrendous weather, huge waves, big wind. But the oddity of this was Lloyd's made a specific statement in the paper about these missing ships, missing men, that they were adamant weather did not cause these disappearances. But they never hypothesized what did cause the disappearances. July 15th, 1969, in almost every major paper in the world, Lloyd's of London stated it was extremely odd to find this many vessels in close proximity disabled, missing sailors. And they stated, for a fact, weather was not an issue. That's pretty sobering. Now, as I stated before, many people in the UK believed and felt that Crowhurst faked his death in the middle of the Atlantic. His wife even came out and made a statement that she hadn't seen, heard, or known anything about her husband. This was weeks after the first disappearance was reported. Imagine being a woman, David's wife, with 4 young kids. Your husband's missing at sea. You know nothing about it. And people are implying that he faked the whole thing. First of all, do you know how ridiculous that sounds? How would David, a small businessman in the UK, fake a disappearance in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? Who is going to be there to help him get back on a ship and get home? It's ridiculous. But the reason those allegations kept coming was because David had done some dishonorable things early in the race. Now, it's just not this span of time that we're talking about. We're also talking about disappearances in this stretch going back to 1872. There's also been some major airliners that have disappeared right down that middle stretch in the Atlantic. A couple of South American flights that were going to Europe disappeared right down that middle section. It was always an allegation that extreme weather and lightning took down the airliners. But in hindsight, it was always in this middle section. Now, what's interesting is if you look at an underwater map of the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, there's a rib that goes all the way down it. Looks like it comes up off the bottom of the ocean. Now, as an investigator, you want to go back and look at the best possible evidence. Well, in David's case, it would be the film, and there was nothing to indicate that anything unusual in the air and the water had an effect on him that could have taken him out. In fact, none of the ships that people were able to board, including the Mary Celeste, ever had any indicators that they were in any type of peril. I think that's odd. Now, singular sailors on yachts would always wear a safety rope. Always. unless you're in the cabin, locked in there. And usually those locked in cabins are watertight too. And in case you hit real extreme weather, the yacht may turn over, but it's always going to come back upright, and you'll be in a sealed compartment. You might lose your mast. You're going to be alive. Now, in David's case, his radio had gone down in the past, and he got it functioning again. It was a long series of issues. But when they found his yacht, they said it was entirely workable, nothing was broken, everything seemed fine. So, the Tynemouth Electron is now rotting on a beach in Cayman Brac, B-R-A-C. It changed hands multiple times in the last 50 years, 60 years. And it had turned into a cruise type ship, turned into someone's private yacht. And right now it's rotting. In fact, there's photos online, and it has the name still on the side of the yacht. Now you have to walk through these disappearances logically. First of all, how many times in history have 4 ships gone down in a 10-12 day period of time, all in the same area, with no adverse weather? That's number 1. Number 2, nothing listed in the logbooks of any of these ships indicating something adverse was imminent. Number 3, all of the sailors on these ships were deemed good sailors, fit to do an ocean crossing, as well were their yachts. Then you have the fact that none of these ships ever found a life raft, life ring, EPIRB, nothing. And when you think about the Mary Celeste, where the table was set for dinner and everybody's gone, how can you account for that when there was no adverse weather in that area for 2 weeks? Logic would tell you you have to start thinking outside the box. And there aren't a lot of boxes that this fits into. And remember, if you've seen Missing 411, the UFO connection, I've made a definitive association with UFOs and water. And the association isn't some long, stringy hypothesis that takes a couple beers to digest to understand. It's pretty much in your face. You'll get it. That's why I ask you to watch it. Now, later this year, I am the keynote speaker at the MUFON Symposium. And I encourage you to Google MUFON Symposium 2023. And hopefully I'll see you there, because this is going to be an epic presentation on my part. It's quite an honor to be chosen by MUFON to be that speaker, and I will not let you down. Angie and I will be there for 3 days, and I'm already working on the presentation, so I guarantee it will shake the ground some people are walking on. So, I don't talk about disappearances of sailors much, but I hope you understand the seriousness of what I've just laid out for you. And the possibilities are very thin. I appreciate you being here. One thing you could really do for me is be nice to your neighbors. When you go to the store, go out in public, smile at people, be friendly, cost you nothing. And if you see somebody in distress, step out of your comfort zone and help your fellow human. We need more of that in life. In the meantime, I'm gonna have to go over here and wake up Huck because she's asleep on my floor, ready to start snoring soon. So, you have a great week. Hope to see you soon. Paulides out.